Elden Ring contains secrets that would shock anyone, like why the hell am I this far in the game and now invisible bridges are a thing? Do I have to go back to the starting area and check for invisible bridges now? Because I have a job and a family, Elden Ring. You don't seem to get that. But there's another class of secrets in Elden Ring, the subtle secret references that will only resonate with those who played the heck out of From Software's other difficult RPG games, like Demon Souls, Dark Souls and Bloodborne, collectively known as the Soulsborne series of games, because I guess that's the best collective name anyone could come up with. If you have a better idea, please pop it in the comments. Nobody thinks this is ideal. See how many of these Soulsborne Easter eggs in Elden Ring you recognise, and beware spoilers for Elden Ring and From Software's other games. Oh, and we're not including Patches on this list because we reckon he's too prominent to qualify for Easter egg status, but please know that we see him, we love him, we respect his commitment to surrendering.
I surrender! I surrender! I swear!
Such a pro.
Oh dear. I'm terribly sorry. Are you here as a customer?
You have to love the music in the Soulsborne series for its powerful orchestral splendour, or the way that every single boss theme goes suddenly bonkers in the second half in a way that makes it very hard to use in the background of videos. Maybe one of the best boss themes is that of Gehrman the First Hunter, the elderly chap who, at the end of Bloodborne, takes a break from hanging around the hub world to savagely kill you in a Hunter v Hunter deathmatch. The theme is memorable for its poignant string section refrain and for the fact that you'll spend a long time listening to it as Gehrman explodes your body over and over.
Be freed.
So imagine the joy Elden Ring players will have felt upon finding what appears to be a nod to Gehrman's iconic boss music in From Software's newest game, specifically in the haunting tune that the travelling merchants you find dotted around can occasionally be found playing. Although not note perfect, the merchant's melancholy melody does bear a notable similarity to several parts of Gehrman's theme. Enough so that plenty of Bloodborne fans are happy to call this a deliberate nod on From Software's part. In any case, whether you think this is a loving homage to Gehrman or simply a similar refrain that happens to be played on something stringed, I think we can all agree that From Software absolutely outdid themselves with the animation on these musical merchants. Okay, From Software, you clearly know how fingers are supposed to work. How then do you explain this?
The fingers expect as much from you as they do young Gideon.
Ew.
My name is Irina. I've escaped from Castle Morne to the south. The servants there have rebelled. I can't be sure what it is. My eyesight's been weak since birth, you see. But I swear I heard frightful howling from all over.
NPCs are easy to miss in Elden Ring, but players have a good chance of coming across Irina, the woman hanging out at the northern tip of the Weeping Peninsula having, no surprise, a terrible time.
The servants are full wrath, filled with hatred for every one of us. They've since come for every one of the companions I escaped with. They haven't spared a soul.
The visually impaired Irina hails from Castle Morne to the south, where her father Edgar is commander and refusing to flee a violent rebellion until he's fulfilled his duty, which presumably is sitting on this bench doing nothing.
If you see Irina, do tell her that her father will come for her once he's fulfilled his duty.
And you say the workers weren't happy with Castle Morne's leadership. Shocking. The charming Irina is a classic Soulsborne NPC in several regards. Firstly, once you've delivered a letter to her dad, she dies randomly with no warning, which is about par for the course in these games. And secondly, she's actually been in one of these games before, sort of, because she's highly reminiscent of a miracle vendor in Dark Souls 3, also called Irina, right down to a similar visual impairment.
But if I had a divine tone, I could tell you many tales and more. Oh, only I cannot see. Terribly sorry, but you'll have to find me a divine tome in Braille.
This is undoubtedly a little nod aimed at Dark Souls 3 fans, but this Easter egg goes a little deeper. In Dark Souls 3, Irina has a guardian called Aegon, seen here in corpse form. Aegon's weapons and armour are known as the Morne set, sharing a name with the castle that Elden Ring's Irina called home. Item descriptions in Dark Souls 3 describe Morne as a person, not a place, but who knows, maybe Castle Morne is named after the Apostle of Legend in those descriptions. Not that it's a castle I'd choose to be associated with personally. Ugh. If you played Demon Souls, you might remember the moment you realised the first major boss in the opening Boletaria area wasn't going to be a dragon or anything cool, but a wordless mass of pulsating goo. What the heck are we dealing with here? It's just a big mess. Oh, damn. The Phalanx, as this wobbly biomass is known, comprises a bunch of blobs, each wielding a spear and a shield somehow. This mass of enemies pops up in Dark Souls 2, and beating it requires carefully, patiently booping the blobs from behind while trying to get impaled as few times as possible. Ow! I said as few times as possible. Fighting the Phalanx is exactly as tedious as that description suggests, so it is with mixed feelings that we found this one particular room up the stairs and to the left of the Noxtella Eternal City Site of Grace, which contains a whole gang of Phalanx-esque blobs. Now these blobs, or silver tears as they're technically known, aren't unusual in Elden Ring, but we have to think that assembling a room full of shielded, spear-poking variants is a deliberate nod to this iconic Soulsborne enemy. The Elden Ring Phalanx is just as irritating to fight, with attacks to their shields doing negligible damage even at very high levels, and an ability to overwhelm you that will have Souls aficionados brimming with nostalgia even as they crush their controllers to dust with frustration. There are some key differences though. The silver tears don't seem to be nearly as weak to fire as the Phalanx in Demon Souls, and might be considerably more intelligent. Look, you might call it a glitch, but I believe this silver tear has ceased fighting and put away its weapon as an invitation to parley and establish a truce. Ha! Sucker. Treasure chests are the good bits of any Soulsborne game, where your persistence and hard work is rewarded. Oh! Every time! There are treasure chests in Elden Ring too, although as per usual, several of them are also, how to put it, colossal jerks. What's super interesting though is that while Elden Ring has its own flavour of treasure chests, you can, if you're lucky, spot a few select examples of a retro treasure chest in this sprawling open world RPG. Behold, the vintage Dark Souls treasure chest, sitting pretty in the lands between of all places. This retro chest is a perfect mimic, no pun intended, of the ones found in the original Dark Souls and Dark Souls 3. It even includes the chain hanging down to the right, which we can tell by the direction it's pointing, denotes that this chest is not a trap, but the genuine article. It's a delightful treat to find a Dark Souls treasure chest in Elden Ring, even if its presence is puzzling. There are only a few of them to be found, you see, and at least one has been patched since Elden Ring's launch, turning it into a regular Elden Ring chest. So it's possible by the time you watch this video, this Dark Souls chest in the Perfumer's Ruins in the Altus Plateau will have reverted to a standard chest, but we hope not, because it's a real pleasure to get a glimpse of our old friend in Elden Ring. Classic design, not a mimic, all in all, perfect. Oh, what? A cookbook? Never gonna use that. Shit. Elden Ring contains its fair share of weird weaponry, so it's a credit to Bloodborne that one of Elden Ring's oddest and most memorable armaments is a clear shout-out to that game. That weapon is Giza's Wheel, a colossal weapon wielded by Inquisitor Giza upstairs in the Volcano Manor. The weapon makes a great first impression, being as it is a huge spiked wheel that revs up like a chainsaw. Anyone who claims Giza's Wheel for their own is guaranteed to be delighted, because again, it's a huge spiked wheel that revs up like a chainsaw. I know I already said that, but my god, it bears repeating. Those who made it very, very far into Bloodborne, however, will be even more thrilled by Giza's Wheel, because it's obviously an Easter egg reference to that game's Whirligig Saw, an almost identical weapon accessible via the super difficult Old Hunters DLC. This bonkers weapon is affectionately known by Bloodborne fans as the Pizza Cutter, even though Whirligig Saw is already about the funniest name imaginable.
This town's finished.
I mean, at the point where antler-headed men are running around with 6-foot-long pizza wheels, yeah, I'd agree this town is finished. Whatever you prefer to call it, what a delight to see this spinning death dealer return in Elden Ring. As in Bloodborne, Geezer's wheel requires a decent amount of strength to wield, but it's worth the investment for the whopping 70 blood loss build-up it causes. Which, I mean, not surprising, this thing practically screams blood loss. Be forgiven for not spending too much time in the northern reaches of the Altus Plateau, seeing as this part of Elden Ring's map is home largely to the terrifying village of dancing weirdos and approximately 1 million slugs. But poke about in this misty mire and you will find a light in the gloom, the Icon Shield. A chunky great shield that distinguishes itself from the other shields in Elden Ring by A, having a huge, rather lovely painting on it that shows the Erd tree bestowing a blessed tear during the Age of Plenty, B, this attractive sticky out bit of wood down the centre, and C, restoring your HP. Very, very gradually. Wait a minute, it's going to move. There, did you see? It moved, we promise. The Icon Shield, in fact, could not be better named, because this is actually a loving throwback to several other similar shields in From Software's history. For instance, the Adjudicator's Shield from Demon Souls, which boasts the same distinctive shape and also restores HP very gradually. The ornate painting is similarly intricate, but is a bit more macabre, showing the deceased being judged, made even more grim if you get blood on it. Sure that'll wash out. Dark Souls 3 is another game that favours this shield tradition. Behold the Ancient Dragon Great Shield. This time the painting is a bit more abstract, showing the shadow of an ancient dragon, but the wavy design remains, as of course does this shield's superpower, gradually ticking your health back up. In practical terms, the Icon Shield is pretty heavy and the HP regen is slow enough to not be game-breakingly useful. But this charming Great Shield is elevated by its Easter egg status and the lovely painting that proves that even when things seem their bleakest, hope can always... Oh! No! What the fuck just happened? Where's the shield against that? From Software RPGs have a calling card. I mean, beyond killing you horribly every 10 feet or so. That calling card is a sword that's been present in more games than you can wave said sword at, dating back to the developers' King's Field series. The Moonlight Sword, a distinctively shaped weapon with a glowing blue hue, is important to the lore of these atmospheric 90s games, and was placed in Demon Souls as a reference to the studio's prior series. Since then, it's appeared in all 3 Dark Souls games and in Bloodborne, where you can rob it off Ludwig, a boss who looks like what would happen if you fed Google AI 1,000 photos of horses. The Moonlight Greatsword, as it's most often known, is always quite obscurely tucked away in the Soulsborne games, but arguably gets its most visible airing in Elden Ring. Here it's called the Dark Moon Greatsword and is a reward for completing the entire Ranni questline, which, although plenty obscure and difficult, is how you get the closest thing Elden Ring has to a good ending, so plenty of players will get to swing this iconic blade around by the time the end credits roll. Although very much an Easter egg, the Dark Moon Greatsword is perfectly at home in Elden Ring, coming at the end of a lengthy quest that's thematically very moon-focused, and arguably looks better here than it ever has, shot through with next-gen veins of ice, and dealing hefty magic damage with its weapon skill, which is of course called Moonlight Greatsword. Plus, you'll fight knowing you wield not just a kick-ass moonsword, but an iconic piece of gaming history, one that's featured in every one of From Software's iconic action RPGs. Oh, crap, except Sekiro. We forgot about Sekiro. Does this Sword of Dragon count? Nah, we didn't think so either. So those were 7 Soulsborne Easter eggs in Elden Ring. Have you spotted any other little nods to older From Software games in Elden Ring? If so, drop a note in the comments to inform and entertain your fellow internet travellers. And if you liked this, then there are a couple of videos on screen now that you might also enjoy. One is one that we think is good, and the other is one that algorithmically YouTube thinks you will like. Can you guess which is which? There you go, a bonus fun game for you at the end. And if you really like this, then we would love it if you would choose to support us on Patreon, and if you're interested in that, there's a cool Discord and such. You can go to patreon.com/oxclub. Alright, hopefully see you there. Goodbye!